tips for hiking solo. So maybe you don't have anyone to go hiking with you. You can't just wait around and hope someone will go with you, so you've just got to go alone. Hiking solo can be very fun, very liberating, but is it safe? How do you do it? Is there a right way to do it? Is there a wrong way to do it? And that's what this video is about. So one of my first tips for hiking solo, I think is arguably one of the most important, is make sure that people know where you are. If people are not going with you, just tell them where you're going to be, where you're going, that sort of thing. So if you get lost or something, they'll know where you last were and they can go looking for you. This is just kind of a basic safety net sort of tip. So again, if you happen to fall off a cliff and break your leg and you're stranded in the wilderness, people will know where you last were and they can hopefully find you. Having a satellite communicator is also a good option for kind of this emergency sort of scenario, because usually, especially if you're going into the wilderness, really off the beaten path, you're probably not going to have any cell service. So having a satellite communicator is a really good option, just because you'll be able to send out some sort of message so people know where you are, what might have happened to you, that sort of thing. And again, another kind of safety net sort of thing to make sure you're just safe when you're out alone. Another important tip is to make sure you are completely prepared when you go hiking alone. There's not going to be anyone else to help you, most likely, so you're probably just going to have to do a lot of the stuff on your own. So basically, when you go out, make sure your backpack has all the essentials. You have extra food, extra water, first aid kit. You have a shelter of some kind, a tent or a tarp or something. Light source, preferably several light sources. Usually it's a headlamp, some matches, and maybe a ferro rod. So you can pretty much, no matter what happens, you'll be able to create some sort of light. A flashlight is another good option. But those are kind of the main things to bring with you. Because they're essentials, the food and the water and things like that. Water filter is really important as well. If you really, you don't have a clean water source, that water filter will help you, along with purifying tablets. That way you won't get sick if you have to drink some water out in the wilderness. You also want to make sure you're not overpacked or underpacked. Underpacked, obviously, you're not carrying your essentials. You just decided to go out and wing it, which isn't a great idea. Overpacking, you probably brought a bunch of stuff that you don't really need, or you brought stuff that's way too heavy. For example, if you want to go backpacking and you bring a tent that's like 20 pounds, that's a not great thing to do. It's better to go with lighter weight options. Because who wants to drag around an extremely heavy backpack when they really don't have to? It's also important to stay on the trail when you're out hiking alone. It can be tempting to kind of maneuver your way off the trail if you see something interesting. Maybe you see some sort of scenic view or anything that's remotely interesting and you decide to wander off the trail. Not a great idea, because you can easily get lost, and once you get lost by yourself, it could be very difficult for you to find your way back to the trail. And the last thing you want to do is just be lost in the wilderness alone and have no idea how to get back to civilization. So, in general, just stay on the trail no matter where you are, no matter if you think, oh, I'll just go a little bit off this way. Just stay on the trail unless you're extremely experienced and know the area very well. But even then, if you want to be as safe as possible, it's always a good idea to just stay on the trail. And finally, probably another one of the most important tips is to try not to be constantly afraid, constantly nervous about going out alone. Learning not to be afraid of hiking alone or camping alone, whatever, can be difficult to master, but look at the statistics. Statistics show that you are much, much more likely to be unalived in cities and towns compared to out in the wilderness, because of course there are far fewer people out in the wilderness. This is not to say that you should be completely oblivious to your surroundings and trust every stranger you meet, but you are actually safer on the trail than you are in cities and parking lots and things like that. So the statistics are comforting for the most part. But that is pretty much all I have to say about solo hiking. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, of course, leave a like and maybe subscribe. And I make a few videos throughout the week, so don't miss those.